Jasper and Leela thought they were just scrolling through TikTok like any other night. But when mysterious videos started appearing showing their rooms, their every move, they realized something was inside their lives, watching, and it wasn't going to stop until it became them. I first noticed the account on TikTok during one of those restless nights when sleep refuses to come and the room feels heavier than it should. I had been scrolling aimlessly, the glow of my phone casting shadows across the walls, when a strange username caught my eye. It was a random jumble of letters and numbers, meaningless and chaotic. Yet there was something in the profile picture that made me pause. It was a face, or at least it used to be a face, but it was warped and blurry, as though someone had smeared paint across it. I couldn't look away. The distortion was unsettling, yet strangely magnetic. The videos were the usual short clips that dominated TikTok, snippets of everyday life, but there was a subtle wrongness about them. At first I saw a corner of a room dark and empty except for the faint outline of a chair. Another showed a hand moving slowly into frame, almost hesitant, like it was unsure whether it belonged there. Nothing in the clips made sense. They were simple, yet every time I watched one my stomach tightened. Something about the way the camera moved felt intentional, calculated, like it was observing something or someone. I told myself it was probably just a glitch, a weird glitch in the algorithm, nothing more. But the unease grew when I scrolled further. More videos appeared overnight. This time they weren't just random, they were familiar. They showed scenes I recognized: my desk, the bookshelf I had stacked with old notebooks, even the chair by the window where I sat every night. The more I looked, the clearer it became. The videos were of my room. At first I laughed nervously, thinking it was a coincidence, some strange algorithmic mistake, but then I noticed details only I would know. The way my desk lamp was tilted, the crumpled corner of my notebook, a small stain on my carpet that I had never cleaned. Each video felt like it had been filmed while I wasn't looking, capturing me in ways I didn't expect, in angles I couldn't have imagined. My heart began to pound, a heavy, urgent rhythm that matched the unease building inside me. Then came the video that made my blood run cold. It showed a figure standing at the foot of my bed. I froze, staring at the screen, unable to move. The figure didn't shift or make a sound, but its presence was undeniable. It had a human shape, but its face was obscured, blurred in a way that made it impossible to identify. It tilted its head slightly, as if studying me, and I realized with sudden horror that the angles were perfect. Whoever or whatever was filming this knew exactly how I saw my own room. I didn't dare move, I could barely breathe. And then, as if it sensed my hesitation, the figure leaned closer, its form darkening against the dim light of my room. The video ended abruptly, the screen going black. My phone buzzed once, and a notification appeared. "You're next." My hands shook as I stared at it, unable to look away. The words were simple, yet they carried a weight, a promise of something inevitable. I spent the rest of the night in terror, unable to sleep, unable to turn off my phone. Every sound in my room felt amplified: the hum of the refrigerator, the faint scratching of the radiator, the creak of my bed frame whenever I shifted. I wanted to convince myself it was just a nightmare, a trick of my mind after hours of scrolling in the dark. But the memory of that figure at my bed refused to fade. It was real. By morning I could hardly bear to look at my phone. I kept it face down on the desk, but a part of me couldn't resist glancing at it. The account remained, the profile picture still warped, still staring at me through the glow of the screen. I wanted to block it, report it, do anything, but fear rooted me in place. I didn't know what it wanted, only that it had found me, and somehow, in ways I couldn't understand, it knew where I was. As the sunlight filtered through my curtains, I thought I was safe. The figure had vanished in the brightness, leaving only a lingering sense of dread. But when I reached for my phone to scroll away, a chill ran down my spine. The screen lit up with a new notification: another video, uploaded while I had slept. And there, just for a split second, I saw it again, closer this time, leaning in from the darkness, and the last frame froze on its faceless head, tilted in a way that made my blood run cold. Sleep became impossible. Every night felt heavier, as though the darkness in my room had grown teeth. My mind refused to rest, circling endlessly around that faceless figure and the videos on my phone. I tried to convince myself it was just a prank, a glitch, maybe someone messing with the TikTok algorithm. But when I woke in the middle of the night and saw my own desk, perfectly lit by the moonlight, my stomach sank. I knew it wasn't a glitch. The next morning, I dared to look at the account again. I wanted to tell myself that ignoring it would make it go away, but my curiosity overpowered my fear. And then I noticed something that made my blood run cold. The videos weren't just showing my room anymore, they were showing me. One clip caught me brushing my teeth. Another showed me scrolling on my phone. I remembered none of it being recorded. Every angle was precise, every detail captured perfectly. Some clips were shot from above, some from below. Angles that were impossible unless someone or something was standing in the corners of my room watching. I dropped my phone, my hands trembled, and I felt like my chest had been pressed under a heavy weight. I wanted to scream, to call for help, but no one could see what was happening. I was trapped in the quiet terror of my own space. Each new video uploaded overnight, showing more of me, more of the things I did in private, things I thought only I could see. And in each one, there was something else, a shadow. It was always at the edge of the frame, just barely visible, just dark enough to blend with the night. At first I thought it was a trick of the lighting, a glitch in the video quality, but the more I watched, the more I realized it was moving, deliberately positioning itself behind me, sometimes crouching, sometimes standing. It never came into full view, but I felt its presence. I began to notice it in my own room, too, a shadow lingering just beyond my vision. I would catch a flicker out of the corner of my eye, only for it to vanish when I turned to look directly. The thought that someone had been in my room while I was asleep, while I was awake, made my skin crawl. I changed my locks, checked the windows, even moved furniture, hoping to disrupt whatever routine this shadow was following. Nothing worked. The videos kept coming, uploaded at impossible times, sometimes in the middle of the night, sometimes while I was awake, always showing me as if they were live. One night I decided to record myself, placing my phone on my desk while I pretended to sleep. I didn't want to watch, but I had to know. When I replayed the footage, my stomach sank. The shadow appeared instantly, as if it had been waiting. It didn't move quickly, but it glided, silent and deliberate, circling the bed, staring at me with a presence that made the air feel cold. The camera picked up something my eyes had missed: a faint, distorted shape behind the shadow, moving in ways that seemed unnatural, impossible. I tried to leave, to escape the room, but even when I stepped outside, I felt its attention following me. I could sense it in the apartment hallways, behind closed doors, even outside the windows, waiting, observing. Every reflection I caught in a mirror or a polished surface seemed wrong. Something was behind me, always just behind, staying still when I was still, moving when I moved, mimicking me in the smallest, most subtle ways. And then I noticed a new detail, the one that finally broke me. One of the videos I hadn't seen before showed me from a corner angle I didn't recognize. I was sitting on the edge of my bed, staring at my phone, but in the video, the shadow was already there, inches away from my face. Its shape was fluid, morphing slightly, almost like it was learning me, studying the smallest expressions and movements. And for a terrifying instant it paused, leaned closer, and the distorted face twisted into something almost human, almost alive, before the screen went black. I couldn't breathe. My phone vibrated with a new notification, a short clip, just a few seconds long, showing the shadow moving closer than ever, and underneath it, words scrawled across the frame. Soon, by now, I was beyond exhausted. Sleep had become a distant memory, a fragile state that I could no longer trust. My nights were filled with the sound of my own breathing, the occasional creak of the apartment, and the ever-present fear that the shadow was closer than I dared imagine. I tried everything, leaving my phone in another room, covering the camera with tape, even sleeping in the living room, but nothing worked. The videos kept coming, and now, they were more personal than ever. One night I woke to my phone vibrating insistently. I grabbed it, hands shaking, and saw a notification I hadn't expected, a live stream. Hesitation froze me in place. I wanted to ignore it, but something made me tap the screen. My blood ran cold. The camera feed was from my own phone, sitting untouched on my desk, recording my bedroom. I hadn't turned it on. I stared in horror as my own room appeared on the screen, exactly as it looked now, only darker, more sinister. At first, nothing moved. I held my breath, heart hammering, hoping that what I feared wasn't real. Then, from the corner of the room, the shadow emerged. It glided silently, its distorted, featureless face barely visible in the dim light. It didn't rush, it didn't make a sound. It simply stood, observing, waiting. And then I noticed the impossible: its movements were synchronized with mine. Every twitch of my fingers, every shift in my body, it mirrored perfectly. It wasn't just watching me, it was learning me. My mind screamed for an explanation, but none came. I wanted to flee, to throw the phone, to destroy it, anything. But a compulsion held me, a morbid curiosity mixed with a terror I couldn't escape. The shadow moved closer to the bed, and as it did, I realized with horror that it was not alone. Behind it, a second figure began to take shape, darker, more fluid, almost formless, yet undeniably present. My chest tightened as I realized I could feel its weight, its presence pressing against the walls of my room. I wanted to look away, but I couldn't. The shadow extended a hand, and my own hand rose, without my permission, matching its movement perfectly. I tried to pull it back, but it refused to obey me. Panic surged through me, raw and unrelenting. I screamed silently in my head, my body trapped in emotion dictated by something that wasn't me. Then, the live stream shifted. The camera angle changed subtly, showing my room from above, as if it were floating. From this vantage point I could see more than just the shadows. I could see myself in the bed, my own body trembling uncontrollably, staring at the phone. And standing at the edge of the bed was another shadow, one I hadn't noticed before, crouching low, almost like it was waiting for something. It wasn't moving like the others. It was patient, calculating, and its form seemed to stretch unnaturally, shadows spilling across the floor in impossible angles. I couldn't comprehend it. My brain rejected the idea of what I was seeing. But then the worst part happened. The shadow at the foot of my bed leaned forward slowly, almost lovingly, and in the reflection of the phone screen I saw my own eyes staring back at me. Only they weren't alone. Behind me I glimpsed the faint outline of the second, fluid figure, its shape almost transparent but undeniably real. It tilted its head toward the camera, and for a split second, I could swear it was smiling. I gasped, the sound loud in my ears, but nothing else made a sound. No footsteps, no movement, nothing, only the feed, only the shadows. I reached for my phone to turn it off, but my fingers wouldn't respond. They were frozen, stiff, as if controlled by some invisible force. The shadow at the foot of the bed inched closer, its faceless head tilting, and the words appeared on the screen in jagged, red letters, "Don't hide, we're already here." Then the live stream ended. The screen went black, and the apartment was silent, too silent. My body shook, and I realized I had been holding my breath, staring at the empty room. But the memory of what I had seen, of the shadows moving, of my own body being manipulated, refused to leave. I knew, in that instant, that the line between the videos and reality had vanished. And as I lay there, trembling, I caught a glimpse of movement in the corner of the room, a shadow that wasn't attached to anything, hovering just beyond the reach of the light. It tilted its head, mimicking me, and I felt, deep in my chest, that this was only the beginning. By this point I was living in constant terror. The line between day and night had blurred. Even in the sunlight, the apartment felt heavy, suffocating, as if the shadows had grown roots and were spreading through every corner of my life. I avoided mirrors, afraid of what might linger behind my reflection. I stopped using my phone except to check the TikTok account, though even that felt like a mistake. Every notification made my stomach twist, every vibration made me flinch. The videos were changing again, becoming more elaborate, more invasive. They no longer just recorded me in my room, they captured moments I couldn't explain. One clip showed me in the kitchen, though I hadn't been there for hours. Another showed my bathroom mirror with a dark silhouette standing behind me, just barely visible, almost blending with the reflection. Every frame screamed that whatever was controlling this account wasn't limited by walls, doors, or my own perception of space. I tried to leave, but leaving offered no safety. I thought about staying with friends, but even that terrified me. What if it followed me? What if it was already there, recording, watching? I barricaded my bedroom door and left a small lamp on, hoping that the light would keep whatever it was at bay. But when I checked my phone, a new video had uploaded, and in it, the shadow was sitting silently at my desk, just behind where I normally kept my phone. Its distorted, featureless face was closer than ever. It didn't move, but I felt its presence like a weight pressing into my chest. Sleep became impossible. I drifted in short, terrified moments, only to wake at the slightest sound. Sometimes I could hear faint whispers, too quiet to understand, coming from nowhere in particular. Other times the creak of the floorboards made me jump, though I knew I was alone. I stopped checking the apartment at night, afraid of what I might see, but it didn't matter. Whatever this was had already infiltrated my life, making me a prisoner in my own home. One night I decided to face it, to confront the account and the videos head-on. I left my phone on the floor, unplugged, and sat on the bed with my back to the wall. Hours passed. The room was silent, except for the faint hum of the radiator. I closed my eyes, trying to calm myself, telling myself it couldn't appear in the real world, that it was just digital, just pixels and distortion. Then, a vibration. My eyes snapped open. My phone screen lit up with a new video, though it wasn't showing my room this time. It was showing me. I was on the bed, awake, staring directly at the floor where my phone lay, and behind me, a shadow had appeared. It was sitting on my bed, eerily still, its form melting into the darkness around it. I hadn't seen it enter, hadn't heard it move, but it was there. I froze. Every instinct screamed to run, to flee, but my body wouldn't respond. The shadow leaned closer, and I noticed something impossible. Its form shifted, stretching unnaturally, growing taller, thinner, its edges blurred, almost like smoke. It wasn't just a shape anymore, it was alive, intelligent, aware of me in ways that made my blood run cold. I felt its gaze, though I couldn't see eyes, and it was as if it could peer directly into my thoughts, knowing every fear, every weakness. Then the video ended. I picked up the phone in a trembling hand, hoping it was over, but the thumbnail froze on a single image that burned itself into my mind. The shadow was closer than ever, almost touching my shoulder, and beneath it, words had appeared on the screen, written in jagged, red letters. "I've been inside all along." I screamed silently, feeling my chest tighten, my pulse hammering in my ears. The apartment felt alive, suffocating, and I realized with horror that I wasn't just being watched anymore. I was trapped. Whatever this was, it was inside my home, inside my space, and somehow inside me. My own room, my own body, had become a stage for something I couldn't fight or understand. As I sat there, trembling, I felt a movement behind me, just a whisper of motion. I dared not turn my head. The shadow didn't make a sound, but the air around it seemed to pulse, thickening, pressing closer. My phone vibrated again. Another video had uploaded. I stared at the thumbnail. I didn't even need to open it. The shadow was standing, looming, facing the camera, and I realized it was smiling. By the time the fifth night came, I was barely holding myself together. Every moment was shadowed by fear, every second measured against the pulse of my own heartbeat. Sleep had abandoned me entirely. I existed in a haze of exhaustion and terror, afraid to close my eyes, afraid to look at the phone, afraid even to breathe too loudly. My apartment had become a cage, and the shadow had become its warden. The videos had escalated again. They were no longer content to show my room or me. They were predicting me, anticipating my actions. One clip showed me walking toward the kitchen before I had even moved. Another showed my hands reaching for a glass of water before I had touched it. I stared at the screen, unable to comprehend how this was possible. It wasn't just watching me anymore. It was controlling the narrative, threading itself into my life in ways I couldn't fight. I considered leaving. I packed a bag, ready to escape to somewhere far, somewhere public, somewhere the shadow couldn't follow. But as I opened the door to the apartment, I felt it. The air shifted, heavier, colder. The shadows in the hallway stretched unnaturally toward me, curling around my ankles, crawling up the walls. I stumbled back, heart hammering, and slammed the door shut. There was no escaping. I sat on my bed, trembling, watching my phone. A new live stream notification blinked, and I didn't hesitate this time. I had to see it, had to confront it, had to understand the extent of what I was dealing with. The screen came alive, and my blood ran cold. This time, the feed was outside the apartment, looking in. The camera hovered in the street below, but somehow, it showed my bedroom clearly. Every detail illuminated as though it had been filmed from inside. And then I saw it. The shadow was moving toward the building. Its form flickered and stretched as it advanced, shifting in ways that made no sense. It paused outside my window, and I realized with terror that the camera wasn't outside at all. It was inside me. My chest tightened. My lungs burned as I realized I could feel the recording device in my own body. The shadow somehow threading itself through me, through my very being. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw the phone, to smash it, to run, to disappear. But my hands moved toward it on their own, my fingers scrolling, opening, reacting as if they weren't mine. And then I saw something impossible. My own eyes on the screen, staring back at me, only they weren't alone. Behind me, inside the reflection, the shadow's face pressed close, featureless, but horrifying, leaning into mine, almost merging with me. I could feel it breathing against me. I could feel its presence in every nerve, every thought, every heartbeat. And then, just as suddenly, the video feed changed. It showed an image I would never forget. It was me, or rather, a version of me lying in the bed, completely still, eyes wide open, staring at the ceiling. And behind that version, standing over me, was a figure that was no longer just a shadow. It had form, almost human, almost familiar, but grotesquely twisted, and it was smiling. I screamed, though no sound came from my mouth. My body froze, unable to move. And then I understood. I wasn't looking at a video. I was seeing the future, or a mirror of the present I couldn't escape. The shadow had replaced something inside me, copying, learning, replicating. I realized with horror that I could disappear at any moment, replaced by this thing that had been watching, following, waiting. The feed ended abruptly. The screen went black. Silence filled the apartment. I gasped for air, desperate to regain control. But when I looked around, the room felt wrong. Too quiet, too still, too empty. And then my phone vibrated once more. A new notification appeared. One word blinked across the screen in jagged, red letters. Forever. I threw the phone across the room, but it landed face up on the screen. I saw it, my own eyes staring back, and behind them, the faint, warped outline of the shadow. It wasn't coming. It was already here. And I realized then that I wasn't just being watched anymore. I was part of it, and there was no escape. The TikTok account, the videos, the shadow, it wasn't external. It had been inside me all along. And somehow, impossibly, it would never stop. I backed into the corner of the room, trembling, unable to look away from the phone. The last thing I saw before blacking out was the shadow leaning closer, merging with my reflection, and my own voice whispering from somewhere deep inside me, "See you tomorrow." And now, even as I write this, I know it's watching.